I have a confession to make. I've been obsessed with something for the past 3 months now. Searching for Capa de Fusca at 2 in the morning. Reading Brazilian car forums I can't even understand. Watching videos in Portuguese with auto-translate on. And I finally found it. The story that explains why people in Michigan, Ohio, and Massachusetts are desperately typing Portuguese words into Google right now. But I bought another car to show you first. Not just any car. This one is connected to a medical miracle that doctors still can't explain. So this will be coming in today's video. But first, let me show you what's happening right now on Google Trends. Because as you guys can see, something absolutely insane is going on. Look at this screen. As you guys can see here, searches for Brazilian Beetle have increased 350% in the United States in the last 30 days. 350%. Michigan is at 100% search volume, the highest in the entire country. Ohio follows at 81%. Massachusetts at 70%. I don't know if you guys can see this clearly on camera, but this isn't a gradual rise. This is an explosion. People are searching for Capa de Fusca, which I'll explain what that means in a second, and they can't even pronounce it. They don't know what it is. But they're searching desperately, like their lives depend on finding this thing. So before we get into why this is happening, let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you saw a car on an American highway and actually felt something? Not just noticed it, but felt your heart skip a beat. I don't know about you guys, but I've been struggling to remember. Because as you guys can see when you drive around today, every SUV looks identical. Every sedan is a copy of the one next to it. The soul is gone. The character that made you fall in love with cars in the first place has been systematically eliminated. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about, because I feel like I'm losing my mind sometimes looking at modern parking lots. But here's what they didn't tell us. Here's the secret I stumbled onto at 2 a.m. going down a rabbit hole. While America was busy killing character and building these generic boxes on wheels, Brazil was doing something completely different. Something that would last 25 years and create a legend that Americans are only now discovering. So we decided to go ahead and dive deep into this story. We were going to try to understand what the hell is happening with these searches and why a Brazilian car is suddenly going viral in America. So first thing we need to do is go back to 1978, because that's where this whole thing starts.
In 1978, Volkswagen made an announcement in Germany. The Beetle, the people's car, the icon that defined a generation, was dead. Production stopped. End of an era. And as you guys can see in this archival footage, the last Beetle rolled off the line in Wolfsburg, and that was it. America followed immediately. By '79, no more Beetles in the US. The factory lines went silent. Workers were retrained for new models. Nobody seemed to care that much. The automotive press barely noticed. They were too busy covering fuel efficiency and the Japanese invasion. The Beetle was yesterday's news. But in Brazil, something crazy happened. When Volkswagen do Brasil received the directive from Germany to stop production to join the rest of the world in moving forward. The Brazilian engineers did something nobody expected. They said, "No, I don't know if you guys can fully appreciate how bold that was. But imagine being a Brazilian factory manager in '78, getting a call from Volkswagen headquarters in Germany, telling you to shut down your most popular car, and you just say no, we're keeping it." That's exactly what happened. And as you guys will see, Brazil didn't just preserve the Beetle like a museum piece. They improved it. They modernized it. They took the basic DNA and evolved it into something America would never see. Hopefully, this is making sense so far, because it gets even crazier. The engineers at Volkswagen do Brazil went to work with passion that transcended corporate directives. They developed bigger engines. The 1600cc motor, which was way more powerful than anything the original Beetle ever had. They created the Fuscum, which translates to Big Beetle. And as you guys can see in these photos, it was exactly that. More power, better performance, still affordable. They experimented with colors that would never have been approved in conservative Germany. Look at this, bright yellows you could see from space. Deep metallic blues that shimmered in tropical sun, oranges and greens and reds that turned every Fusca, that's what they called it, Fusca, into a rolling celebration. And they kept making them year after year after year. Through the 80s, when America was obsessed with boxy sedans. Through the 90s, when SUVs started their march toward dominance. Into the 2000s, when hybrid technology was being heralded as the future. Brazil kept the faith. They kept the production lines running. They kept improving, iterating, perfecting. Special editions became legends on Brazilian streets. And they kept making them until 2003. 25 years after Germany quit. 24 years after America gave up. Now, here's where the story takes an unexpected turn, and I honestly didn't believe this at first. Seemed too good to be true. But as you guys will see in the documentation I found, it's completely real. Fast forward to today, to 2025. Open Google Trends right now and watch what happens when you type in Brazilian Beetle or Capa de Fit. You'll see something that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. As you guys can see on this screen, search interest has exploded. Not a gradual rise, an explosion. 350% increase in 30 days. I've been tracking this for months and I still can't quite believe the numbers. Michigan leads with 100% search volume. Ohio at 81, Massachusetts at 70. Texas, Pennsylvania, California, the searches are coming from everywhere.
Wait, let me show you something else. Look at the related searches. As you guys can see here, people are typing Brazilian Beetle for sale, USA, Fusca import to America, how to buy Brazilian VW. These aren't casual searches. These are people trying to actually buy these cars. People who are willing to navigate international shipping, customs regulations, all of that complexity, just to get their hands on a Brazilian Fusca. So the question is why? Why now? Why are Americans over 50? Which is the primary demographic searching for this? Suddenly discovering these cars in 2025? I don't know the full answer yet, but I think I found a clue, and it's not what you'd expect. There's a story I need to tell you about a man, we'll call him Robert, though that's not his real name for privacy reasons. 3 years ago, Robert was given 6 months to live. Terminal cancer. Stage 4. The doctors at University of Michigan Hospital, some of the best oncologists in the world, had exhausted every treatment option. Chemotherapy failed. Radiation failed. Experimental trials failed. They sat him down and told him with professional compassion that it was time to get his affairs in order. 6 months, maybe less. Nothing more they could do. I don't know if you guys have ever received news like that or watched someone you love receive it, but hopefully you understand how devastating that moment is. Robert went home to his suburban Detroit house and tried to make peace with death. He was 78 years old, had lived a full life, had children and grandchildren. But there's something about being told your time is up that makes you question everything. So he found himself wandering through his garage one afternoon, looking at decades of accumulated tools and projects. And in the back corner, covered with a tarp thick with dust, he found something he'd forgotten he owned. A 1967 Volkswagen Beetle. Technically a 67 Bug, the American version, but close enough to what we're talking about. It had belonged to his father, had been Robert's first car when he was 16, driven until the engine gave out around 85, and then pushed into the garage with vague promises of restoration that never happened. Robert pulled off the tarp and looked at the rusted hulk. As you guys can see in these photos he sent me, the paint was gone in places. Tires were flat. Interior smelled of mildew and decay. It was, in automotive terms, dead, just like him. And something about that parallel, about two broken things facing the end together, sparked something in his dying mind. If he had 6 months, why not spend it trying to bring this thing back to life? What else was he going to do? So the next day, Robert drove to the auto parts store, though calling it driving was generous since he could barely make it there and back. He bought basic tools, cleaning supplies, rust remover. He started small, just cleaning. Just removing decades of dirt and grime. Just trying to see what was still there under all the decay. Every Fusca that rolled off that Brazilian assembly line in the 90s, when the entire automotive world had agreed the Beetle was obsolete, was a middle finger to planned obsolescence. Every bright yellow Fusca with its upgraded engine was a testament to the idea that passion can survive corporate pressure. Every special edition was proof that when you love something enough, you find a way to keep it alive. And now, decades later, Americans are finally discovering what Brazil knew all along. Look at this. The searches for Capa de Fusca, which literally translates to Beetlehood in Portuguese, aren't just about finding car parts. I don't know if you guys can fully grasp this, but they're searching for a piece of automotive soul that America lost somewhere along the way. They're searching for restoration guides, for import information, for any way to get their hands on these Brazilian legends. They're joining Facebook groups with names like Brazilian Video Enthusiasts and Fusca Fanatics US. They're learning Portuguese. They're planning trips to São Paulo just to see these cars in their natural habitat. They're paying premium prices, sometimes $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for models that were once considered cheap people's cars, because they recognize value that transcends market economics. As you guys will see in these classified listings, the prices keep climbing. A perfect Fusca that might have sold for $5,000 in 2000 is bringing $30,000 today. Some of the rarest editions are hitting six figures, not because of artificial scarcity or speculation, but because people who know cars, who understand design and engineering and automotive soul, recognize that these were special. Now I'm going to show you guys something that ties this all together. Remember those Google Trends showing Michigan at 100% search volume? I reached out to some of the people searching, asked them why. What are you looking for? And the answers were incredible. One guy said, I'm searching for what cars used to make me feel. Another said, I want something my grandkids will actually remember, not another generic SUV. A woman in Ohio told me, I am searching for proof that good things don't have to die just because corporations decide they're not profitable enough. They're not just searching for cars, they're searching for hope. Hope that soul can survive in an age of soullessness. Hope that somewhere in the world somebody refused to give up on something beautiful. And in finding these Brazilian Fuscas, maybe they're finding that hope. This is the story they didn't teach us in American automotive history classes. The story of how one country kept a dream alive for 25 years after the rest of the world gave up. The story of engineers who chose passion over profit. The story of a car that became the symbol of resistance against the tyranny of the new. And the story of how Robert found purpose in restoration, and somehow that purpose helped his body fight back against cancer. The doctors still can't explain it medically. I can't explain it either, but the data is right here. The timeline matches. The transformation is real. Maybe there's something to this idea that when you give yourself a reason to live, your body finds a way to make it happen. So I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of next week's video. Look at this car. As you guys can see, this is a Brazilian Puma GT, a sports car made in São Paulo from 1973. It could outperform American Corvettes. Cost half as much. And almost nobody in America knows it exists. Yet, that hood, that design, those curves. This thing is worth over $100,000 today. And next week, I'm going to show you exactly why Americans are willing to pay Porsche money for Brazilian sports cars they never knew existed. The Fusca story is just the beginning. Brazil didn't just keep making Beetles. They built an entire automotive legacy while America wasn't paying attention. I hope you guys enjoyed diving into this rabbit hole with me. I know I went deep on this one, but hopefully it made sense why this matters. These aren't just forgotten cars. They're proof that soul matters more than efficiency. That passion can outlast corporate decisions. That good design transcends borders and decades. Make sure you resubscribed because next week we're re-revealing the Brazilian muscle car that America abandoned but Brazil perfected for 15 years. The Ford Maverick story. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. And if this story moved you, if you're one of the people in Michigan or Ohio searching for Brazilian Beetle right now, drop a comment. Tell me your location. Tell me what you're searching for. Let's build the biggest community of Brazilian car enthusiasts outside of Brazil right here. Because while America was busy moving on, Brazil was busy making legends. And those legends are finally coming home,